What is up, Breaking Bad fans? Kino here, and we are back with another Breaking Bad log. Today we're looking at the 9th episode of the 4th season, Bug. Now, the episode opens with a mysterious shot of Walter bleeding. We can see his broken glasses, and we're left wondering of what could have happened. After the title, Walt drives Hank back to Los Pollos Hermanos in order to retrieve the bug he planted on Gus's car. When they plug it in, they find that he only went to the restaurant and home the entire week. This makes Hank even more suspicious, as it's just too perfect. As he's leaving, Walt sees Tyrus watching Hank's house. He calls 911 to report the suspicious activity, forcing Tyrus to leave. Back at the lab, Walt sees Jesse, who has started to cook without him. Walt asks for one of his cigarettes and sees that the ricin is still there. Jesse says that he still plans on killing Gus, but Walt doubts it. Later, Skyler calls Walt and tells him that the car wash is running smoothly. In fact, they're making so much money now, Walt can stop cooking meth. Walt says that he will plan an exit strategy, but silently knows that there's no way out for him as long as Gus is alive. The next day, Hank calls Walt and asks him to drive him to the chicken farm. Walt, scared of what he might find there, delays by pretending to be sick. He then calls Mike and warns him of the coming trip. They then clear out all evidence of drugs from the farm. Meanwhile, Skyler is at the car wash creating phony receipts. She's visited by Ted, who reveals that he's been audited by the IRS for tax evasion. As Skyler was the bookkeeper who cooked the books, she realizes that the IRS will come after her business as well, which she cannot have happen as she's laundering money through there now. Back at the farm, Jesse and crew are cleaning up when they're attacked by the cartel. A sniper takes out one of their guys and almost takes Jesse out before Mike ends up saving him. Gus sees what happens and defiantly walks into the gunfire, daring the shooter to take him out. The sniper smirks at his boldness and then retreats, having already sent the message. Mike and Jesse then take the dead body down to the lab for disposal. Walt assumes that Gus had the man killed and rails against him. Mike tells him to shut up and also warns him against ever calling the police on his men again. They then dissolve the body in acid. Outside, Jesse confronts Mike about what happened and what Gus is doing to protect them. Mike tells him to talk to Gus directly, shocking Jesse that he's allowed to see the boss. The next day, Ted is being interviewed by a forensic accountant at the IRS about his missing revenue. Skyler arrives dressed like a bimbo and acting stupid. She pretends that all of the unreported revenue is just a mistake on her part, and gives a very convincing performance. The agent believes her and drops all of the criminal charges. Outside, Skyler tells Ted to pay his back taxes and fines and then he'll be free. However, he reveals that he's completely broke and has nothing to pay the IRS with. That evening, Jesse goes to Gus's house for dinner. Gus makes him the same fish stew that he made for Walt, with only one pot for both of them to share. I wonder if indeed that Gus is being prepared in case Jesse tries to poison him. Gus agrees to answer Jesse's questions, but first asks him if he can cook Walt's formula. Jesse accuses Gus of trying to manipulate him, and says that he will not cook for him if they kill Walt. Gus responds that that's not what he wants, and instead needs his help in order to prevent a war with the cartel. That night, Skyler is unable to sleep given the situation with Ted. She goes to look at their money under their house, getting an idea. The next day after work, Walt retrieves the bug that he planted on Jesse's car. He finds that Jesse went to Gus's house for over 2 hours. Jesse then calls him, asking him to come over. When he does, Jesse tells him that they are going to send him to Mexico in order to teach the cartel how to cook Walt's formula. Jesse begs for Walt's help, but Walt confronts him about the dinner with Gus. He reveals that he bugged Jesse's car, and, angry about his seeming betrayal for Gus, tells him that he's going to screw up and get killed in Mexico. Angry, Jesse attacks Walt, which ends up in a brutal fight. Jesse eventually beats Walt down and tells him to leave and never come back. We've come full circle to the beginning of the episode, with Walt beating and battered after the fight. The title of the episode, Bug, obviously refers on the different bugs that are planted on people's cars in order to track them. When Jesse goes to visit Gus at his house, all of the toys that were there when Walt visited are gone. This probably suggests that Gus has no children, and was just trying to play into Walt's motivations as a provider for his children. Furthermore, Gus would probably not want to remind Jesse of children, given that this conflict started because of the murder of the child Tomas. Finally, I don't really have any other behind-the-scenes details to go over, but I did want to say that the fight between Walt and Jesse is one of the most brutal in the series. Not only is it a clumsy and very realistic brawl, it also represents their disintegrating friendship. This was of course all part of Gus's plan to drive them apart, but it's also the result of Walt's selfishness and need to control Jesse by putting him down. And that's pretty much everything I have to say about the episode. Thank you guys so much for watching, and stay tuned for the next one, coming soon. I invited you here so we can talk about our patrons like men. Russell, Sean, Heart of Markness, Logan, Clean, John Reyna, Jesse Sterling, Andrew Stewart, Obs Racing Media, Daz J. Kid, Conan Higgins, Sam Cedarlin, Don Lucania, Celery Man, Jenna Marie Johnson, Brad Smith Studios, and Uncle Mike.